Hearties. This is Heart to Hearties, the official admin chat with the wonderful storytellers who bring us our favorite show. I'm Chelsea from Puerto Rico.
And I'm Jen from Seattle.
Hey guys, Jeanette from Michigan.
And I'm Erin from Los Angeles currently.
So it's so exciting to welcome back to Heart to Hearties the amazing Erin Krakow.
Oh, great. Thank you for the applause.
That's
Thanks
how
so
we
much
roll.
for having me. It's always so wonderful to talk to you guys, and I can't wait to hear the questions that you've gathered.
Yeah, so great to have you. So we are fresh off the season finale of season 11, and it was such an amazing season, just off the charts in so many different ways. So as it aired, what has been the high point of it for you?
Woo. Thank you for saying that. It was a lot of fun to film. We all had a great time, and it's been just a joy to get to relive as the episodes have aired. I mean, I think for me personally, the story that I was most involved in and invested in, I guess, is the growing romance between Elizabeth and Nathan. And so I think the high point for me, I guess, was episode 11, the penultimate episode, when things got a little crazy roundabout the saloon, but Elizabeth and Nathan found each other at the end of that episode and were able to say some of the things that have been on their hearts for some time.
So we've seen a lot of weddings in Hope Valley. How did you guys make Mike and May's so unique?
Yeah, we have had a lot of weddings. How many have we had? Have you counted?
I have, well,
I feel like we saw an interview where you and Kevin tried to count unsuccessfully.
Okay.
I don't know that we'd be any better
Let's
at
just try. There's a wedding season 1, right? With
yes, the Graves.
Dunbar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
We had Lee and Rosemary.
Yeah.
You're gonna say Pascale and
I
Calvin.
totally was. My bad.
Lee and Rosemary. We had Jack and Elizabeth. We had Ned and Florence.
Mhm.
We had Jesse and Clara.
And I think this one now.
Yeah, I think that's so. What is that? What do you got?
That's 5.
So this makes 6.
Yeah.
I think this one's
Are we sure I'm not missing any?
I feel like there might be one more.
How many sleepy bride photos have you taken?
Oh, great question.
Yeah.
I've taken 5 because I missed season 1.
Right. So that
Okay,
must be
6.
right then.
Okay.
Yeah, so 6 weddings.
Look at us. That does not answer your question. What makes Mike and May's wedding unique? Well, they're just like, every wedding is going to be unique because it's a new couple and we get to celebrate their specific love story. But I thought it was really beautiful the way our whole production team incorporated elements of May's culture and brought in a lot of the richness from that into the decor. I just thought it was so beautiful and bold, like the reds and the golds and the processional with the music as they walk down the street. Like it was
Her dress was stunning.
Yeah.
I mean,
Stunning.
stunning, but also Amanda looked stunning in it. Like the whole
Absolutely.
Barbara hair and makeup, the way they all put her bridal look together, just out of this world. So gorgeous.
Didn't one of the characters even say something like, I feel like Rosie maybe said a bride that which like we've never seen, or I forgot how she worded it exactly, but something unique like that. So.
I'm sure you're right.
All right, so we're sticking with the season. Oh wait, I can't remember if this was season finale or not. But Hyland's adorable. He's always adorable. But how cute was he bringing Pal into the stable and overhearing the conversation with Elizabeth and Nathan about the picnic? And well, yeah, of course, I want to go on a picnic. And he was ready to go.
I know, he's so cute. I mean, not exactly another interruption, but like interruption adjacent for sure. He's just like, getting to work with Hyland these past few years and seeing how he's developed into a little dude, a little young actor, and not just like a toddler or something. I mean, he's fantastic. He brings so much energy and charm and silly little improvisations to our scenes together. I remember in that one specifically, it was tricky timing to get right, getting him into the stables at exactly the right moment. And when we finally nailed it, Peter had him do some kind of like some song and dance. Maybe it'll end up in the bloopers, but Hyland just over and over again was saying, "We're going on a picnic. We're going on a picnic."
I think you could see a little bit of him, like
Yes, he did.
in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
yes, you could see a little
Shimmy,
bit of the
little
shoulder.
Highland shimmy.
Yes, it was so cute.
His
That
little
was it.
shimmy. Yeah,
Yeah.
so sweet.
Really cute.
And then there was so many different storylines with all of the kids this year. I mean, the Canfield kids trying to reconnect with their uncle, and Anna coming back to teach, and Allie and trying to find the stuff with Dylan Parks. But we're gonna go back to Little Jack again because he's so dang cute. But Hearties everywhere right away, even from the beginning of this season, were really impressed with how much dialogue he was starting to get and just how much he has grown. Like you were saying, has that been fun being able to work with that a little bit more?
Super fun. Yeah, I mean, you want to be able to give the kids more when they're younger, but sometimes you have to kind of work around what they're capable of at any given age. And they also, we're not allowed to work them for very long hours, and so you have to think through what are we going to be able to get out of the kids in our limited time. And yeah, it's been great seeing that Hyland is able to meet us more when we give him more dialogue, and he's so prepared. He's such a little pro. And I mean, yeah, sometimes Peter has to bribe him with Hot Wheels. But there are certainly blocks where he isn't getting bribed and he's still delivering. So yeah, he's a pro.
Well, and you were also very brave. I mean, everyone, with not only just Hyland because he's little, but Hyland and a pony at the same time.
True.
That's a lot.
Talk to me about the bravery. Do you mean just that I wasn't
like,
afraid of having the scene stolen from me? Because
Well,
that happens.
That could happen. But I mean, just working with kids is always notoriously difficult.
Mhm.
And working with animals is usually a little difficult. And then you put the two together,
yeah.
and it was amazing on camera. I don't know how many cuts it took
No.
to get back.
In truth, it did not take that long. I mean, I think it's important for people to know that, we make our show in the same amount of time that other shows make theirs, but we do have some of these additional challenges. We have a lot of kids, we have a lot of animals. If it's, dogs or ponies or horses, we have stage coaches and time-consuming wardrobe. So I feel very proud of the fact that we're able to get it all done in that short amount of time. So I appreciate what you're saying, and I thank you for acknowledging my bravery in this.
Well, and what about the scene where the two of you, I mean, it was like he did his first walk and talk where the
He
two of
did.
two of you are walking and you tell him about you and Nathan. How did he do with that? Did you have to stop several times? Was it like, did he nail it the first time or
He
two?
pretty much nailed it. Yeah. I mean,
Amazing.
I think I'm trying to remember how many takes we had of that. I don't think it was particularly long. We had two cameras going, so we had the wide and a closer shot. And honestly, I think the holdup or the reason for doing it multiple times had more to do with just making sure we had the background lined up where we wanted them in the shot. And Hyland was on it.
Yeah.
he's
When I rewatched, I actually intentionally kind of watched him. He doesn't break character. He looks at you at the right times. I was blown away. It's so good.
he really does stay in it when we're in a scene. There was a scene last season where Nathan joins Allie in the community garden and they're singing a song together. And Elizabeth and little Jack kind of creep up and end up seeing them and then decide to give them their privacy. And so so I'd bend over and I'd say to little Jack, whatever I say about let's give them their privacy. And then we would scurry off. And he got the giggles every time we would run off together. It was the cutest thing. We would just kind of scurry off to behind the bushes, which I don't know, you can't see. We just scurried off out of frame. And
Mhm.
he was laughing so hard at the fact that we were like sneakily making our way from them. Yeah, he's a great
Okay.
kid. And it's just so lovely to get to play with him every day. Like he really makes the job very fun and spontaneous.
It's so cute. Do you think he still loves it as much now as he did when he first stepped on set? I mean, he really seems to get a kick out of it.
I do, or maybe
Yeah.
even more because I think he has a
Yeah.
better understanding of it now. Um, you know, a lot of these kids ask their parents, when am I going back to work? And that's meaningful because that tells me that we're doing something right by making a space that is kid friendly and fun and happy for them.
Well, sorry, I just want to talk about Hyland so much. But
Great.
moving on to another great kiddo performance, of course, is Jaeda. And we got the sweet video from you and Kevin that we got to surprise her with. But anything more you got to say about that performance? She just blew us all away. So I can only imagine what it was like for you all on set.
Yeah. I mean, like it's tricky to feature one kid actor without, you know, spreading my compliments to all of them because so many of our kids, as you said, had great featured performances this season. But because you asked about Jaeda specifically, she just blew me away. I mean, you could tell when she first joined us in season 6, and I'll say even years prior to that, because we worked together briefly in 2014, I think, on A Cookie Cutter Christmas. You could just tell that she had these incredible instincts. You know, she was a kid then, but it was like her brain processed acting and story in a very mature way. She just got it. Um and always brought something special to her scenes, was always prepared. And I'm using past tense only because she has developed into this whole other thing, which is, you know, she's at a tricky age and she's made this transition into being a young adult actor and has really surpassed any expectation we had of her, to the point that we've really been able to continue giving her these emotionally challenging scenes and stories every season. I mean, Jaeda is carrying a very difficult story and doing so with sensitivity, authenticity, um, a real, I'm trying to think of the word, magnetism, is that the right word? She's magnetic. You can't help but watch her. And I think it's because her emotional experience feels so truthful that, yeah, I can't look away. I'm so impressed by her. And I want to do scenes with her. I feel like, oh great, I'm gonna do a scene with Jaeda and that's gonna raise my game. I'm gonna be a better actor because of that.
Yeah.
And I can assure you that she will have more of that to come in season 12. And I'm really so excited for everyone to see it.
That's
Was
awesome.
that too much? Do I
No,
sound
that's
thirsty? Am I like, do I sound like a big time Jaeda
no. Oh, we
fan?
spent the entire hour when we interviewed her just gushing at her. So she's used to
We're all Jada
it.
fans. We're
Yeah.
all Jada fans.
Good. She's so good.
But a lot of Hearties did comment about, because there were, like you said, so many featured kids storylines. So like Billy early on,
Yes.
as Toby, and then the Cooper kids. A lot of Hearties were commenting that it kind of took them back to season 1 when you had like the child with dyslexia and Mimi's character and all those kids that had very prominent storylines back then. It kind of gave that similar vibe. Hearties loved it, yeah, with the kids.
Oh, I'm so glad. I cherish my scenes with the kids and those stories I get to tell with them. And it was nice to get to feature so many of them this season, not just in the classroom, but they're, you know, as you said, the Canfields dealing with trying to get their dad and their uncle to make up, um and Allie with her father. Toby, of course, his story was more education related, but like nice to get to see their stories and different aspects of their lives.
And all of those child actors just stepped up big time. They did such a great job. So, yeah. Well, another thing we saw.
They're trying to put us out of job.
Yeah, they're coming for your jobs. Get ready. One calls the Heart Junior coming at you. Another thing we noticed over the season were callbacks. So we had character callbacks in that we had Cadence back as Anna. We had Max Lloyd Jones back as Tom. We had some dialogue callbacks. One of the ones that stood out to me was that's a lot of B words so that's all the way back to season 1 callback.
Yeah.
So we've heard that you have a lot to do with, you like the callbacks too. So did you have a favorite one this season? Or how many of those were you responsible for? Spill the beans. So we gotta.
Well, I can barely count how many weddings we've had in Hope Valley. I'm not sure I can keep
Yeah.
track of how many callbacks I've been associated with. But I do love a callback very much. I think because it feels like a way of communicating with all of you, with the Hearties. I mean, a lot of these moments have been meaningful to our viewers over the years, and so it's nice to be able to sprinkle them in. That's a lot of B words. Was that in the scene outside the cafe with Rosemary and Minnie?
Minnie. Yep, nailed it. Yeah.
We had one other would have been the season finale of season 10, I think, with that's a lot of what words with it? Beat the ballot box.
Oh.
Like that, right? So
Yeah.
a few times we brought that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't say how many I've been a part of. Our writers are so fantastic, and I think that they have a real mind for that as well, and try to add in things that will be meaneful for our viewers, for the Hearties.
Well, the Hearties don't miss them. We
Oh,
pick up
yeah.
on all of them. So that's probably what makes them fun.
They're like Easter eggs that you're trying to find. And when you find one, you're like, oh yeah.
Completely. And then we had a real Easter egg story. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you all appreciate them.
Well, as you know, we talk with the writers quite a bit over the season, and you come up a lot, as you might think, in a good way. Don't panic. But they all say that you have a great sense of storytelling. And they said one of the scenes that they talked about was, and I love that Mark gave me this question because everyone knows I'm such a huge fan of the character of Jeanette.
Yes.
So one of the look, they're all shaking their head at me. Yeah. So
okay, Jeanette is a complicated character, but let's clarify for everyone watching.
Yeah.
You don't have any issues with the fantastic actress Cecilia who played the part.
100% right. She brought it to life perfectly.
Yeah,
She did a wonderful job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The character just wasn't a fan. So, but they talked about the scene where you first meet her in the street, and it's quite an exchange there. But they said that you were very adamant about the way that Elizabeth would react in that moment. So, can you think back to what sort of the thinking was behind that? Because you were so unfazed in that moment, which was.
Oh my goodness. They said I was adamant, huh? That's never a good sign.
It wasn't a direct quote, so maybe it's being paraphrased.
Let's hope. What was I thinking? What were you thinking, Erin? I think I wanted to, well, first of all, I was very sensitive about not wanting to inadvertently reignite a triangle. Because I know that has been challenging over the years. And I think I worried that if Elizabeth displayed signs of upset or jealousy, that would in some ways make it feel like she had lingering feelings. And I think I also just don't love to see women being catty with other women, right? I think it's important that we build each other up as much as we can. And yes, there was information delivered in that scene that was surprising to Elizabeth, and she was quick to ask Lucas about it. But I think any upset she was feeling was more about it being a surprise to her that Lucas never shared that information with her. Yeah, I guess that's what I was adamant about.
Yeah, I mean, I
But
think she definitely modeled a behavior that we all aspire to in those kind of moments. Whether we all get there, not all the time, but yeah.
True.
well, it was perfectly Elizabeth because it was, I mean, it was because I always look at Elizabeth as somebody who is something that I would try to be, but I don't always quite measure up.
Yeah,
And so I think like if somebody came at me like that, being able to just be so completely unflappable, it was amazing. It was
good.
fantastic.
So glad. If you look close, I'm sure you'll see something behind my eyes that's just like, what is happening here? Yeah, that's what I was aiming for.
There was the tiny little smirk where you were like, you did a great job portraying that. Like,
Thank you very
I'm
much.
doing my best here to be nice, but I'm feeling a lot of feels.
A lot of feels. True.
Yeah. So one of the big scenes and episodes really that we wanted to talk with you about is the Higgins episode, because you haven't really had much of an opportunity to talk about it. We did talk to the director and writer of the episode. So just talk to us about that. We were all blown away by your performance. Well, really everyone's performance in that episode. It was a lot to take on. What were your thoughts? Like, how did that? I don't know that we talked about how, like, whose idea that episode was or how it sort of came about, and what was your input on it there?
I don't remember how it came about. I'm sure from the minds of our brilliant writing team, but it was a big important episode and territory that I think When Calls the Heart has sort of dipped a toe into before, but never really fully addressed head on. We I was excited to get to tell the story. I think it's a situation that unfortunately many women, or I won't just limit it to women, many people have been confronted with. Um, and Elizabeth was very lucky to have good friends and loved ones who were very present and supportive and wanted to, rally around her and help her address it. Obviously, teaching is so important to her, and it felt like she was being manipulated. Well, she was being manipulated. James, who stepped in to play the role of Higgins, was just so disgustingly creepy on screen.
Yeah, agreed.
A gem in real life, great guy, and obviously a very talented actor. But he fully embraced this character and certainly made me feel uncomfortable. I think made our viewers feel uncomfortable in the right way. And it was just so satisfying to get to tell a story where we do get to see Elizabeth's real emotions and vulnerability around it, but we also see her in we see her find a way through those feelings and figure out a way to stand up to this man so that he doesn't have the opportunity of putting any other women in that position again. I really liked the callback when Nathan says something like, I don't remember you running from a challenge, something like that, right?
Yeah.
And Elizabeth kind of reconnects with who she is deep down and is able to find her strength.
That was one of the most beautiful parts of the episode was the way Nathan and Rosemary and Lucas believed her, supported her, and they didn't try to fix it themselves. They propped Elizabeth up so that Elizabeth could be the one to take that big step and give him, shut him down, basically, have her moment to tell him how that made her feel. That was one of the highlights of it was the way everyone around supported her.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was very much, how can I help? And not, I'm gonna get in there and fix this for you. It was, yeah, but I mean, her loved ones wanting to support her standing on her own 2 feet.
Mhm.
Yeah.
As an actor, when you get a script like that, can you immediately, like, did you immediately recognize, like, knowing that there are victims, you know, in our fandom, in the viewership that have experienced that, do you immediately kind of recognize that there's a little more weight to it, or does it kind of come when you start shooting it, or?
I think that we knew as the story was being crafted that it would be a meaningful one to a lot of people. And there is a different kind of responsibility that comes with telling a story like that. But in general, we just want to be as truthful as we can with the stories we're telling and hope that in viewing them, it offers some kind of catharsis for the people who have been through similar experiences. And I got some really, really beautiful, very touching messages from people who felt that. And so, you know, you if you can get through to just one person, if you can offer that kind of cathartic experience for them, then it's worth it. So I think we succeeded, and that makes me happy.
Special episode.
Yes, a very special episode. Yeah.
Very. That line that Nathan says to Elizabeth, that was like immediately I was like, callback to season 1. Elizabeth say, you know, I'm a Thatcher, we don't run from a challenge. So I was like, oh, look at that.
And you could physically kind of see you go, like,
Yeah,
sit
realize
up
like
a little straighter and like go,
uh-huh.
oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, love that. So I have to say, one of my favorite things about When Calls a Heart is, you know, quality writing and the quality that the writers always bring to the season, and they always give their best. And, you know, they've delved into some pretty complex, you know, and hard material this season. You know, for example, Mr. Higgins, which we were talking about, and the Canfield storyline with the brothers, you know, reuniting. So talk to us about the quality of the writing this season and what did you admire about it?
Oh, everything. I don't know how they do it. I mean, I love thinking about and talking about story, and I love every now and again getting to sprinkle in a callback or an Easter egg, but like writers are a different kind of talent. The fact that they can sit in a coffee shop alone with a laptop and just like with a blank screen create a script is just mind-blowing to me. And I can say that having tried it myself, where I'm like, I don't know what to do. I need one of our writers to come rescue me. Yeah, it's incredible. I'm in awe of what they do and so grateful. I mean, I have been asked, um, does it ever get, you know, boring playing the same role for this many years? And the answer is just no, because they always give me something new and interesting to work through and work on. And last season was challenging for a number of reasons. One of which was, I mean, I won't linger on this too long, but the writer's strike posed a really unique challenge for us. We were lucky enough to get to have our full writing staff for a decent chunk of time, but at a certain point, our American writers had to stand down, and our Canadian writers were able to step up and really help carry us through the end of the season. So, I mean, obviously the arcs, all of the groundwork had been laid early on in the writers' room, so it was very much a team effort by our whole writing staff. But I do want to give a little special shout out to our 3 Canadian writers who carried us through the end of the season and did so beautifully. So, you know, shout out to Beth, Derek, and Allie.
Yes, they did an amazing job, and the Hearties are grateful for them too.
We all are. Yeah. You're right though, but getting back to your question more specifically, the writing in season 11 I thought was so special start to finish. So many great, rich storylines for so many characters. You know, we're a big ensemble cast. And I'm hearing more and more and reading some drafts about what's coming in season 12, and it's gonna be really good. I'm very excited.
Yeah, we're excited too. So, are there specific scenes that stick out to you from season 11 that you really loved, or specific lines that you were like, oh man, this is great. I really love this.
Yes. Short answer, yes, but I'm trying to remember them. So I think my favorite scene of the season was the scene between Nathan and Allie at their kitchen table after they've come back from the prison. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure it can be beat. Like, it was so touching and beautiful, and their connection is so special. And I'm like getting chills just thinking of it. That the line where Allie says, I don't know, that sounds a lot like my dad, just ripped my heart open. And you know, reading it in the script, I remember thinking, oh, this is going to be a special moment. But seeing the way they brought it to life, it was just, those two in particular, I think have really got me right in the feels over the years. But that's not a scene I was in, so I don't know if that's what you were asking, but that's my answer.
That's totally fine. Yeah, that's
You can
great.
always tell what because it gets it those scenes that, and that's one of them, and also probably the kiss scene where it gets real quiet on Twitter. Like all of a sudden you're like, where did all the Hearties go?
But
Because
that,
everyone is just like
yes, I have to
riveted to
say
yeah.
that Elizabeth's like monologue, like all the details that, she mentions just to explain her feelings was just chef's kiss. I mean, it was amazing just how it was written and how it was portrayed and how it felt really authentic and with depth. So yeah, I just had to mention that because it's so good.
I'm so glad. Thank you. That was a scene that was really important to all of us, everyone involved in When Calls. I think it had been highly anticipated, obviously. And we wanted to make sure that we delivered something really special. So I'm glad that I'm glad that it worked.
Yeah, definitely did. So when we talked to you before the season, you shared that Chris McNally had the most dramatic story arc in
Was I
season.
wrong? Tell me, was I wrong?
Spot on,
Right
spot on.
Totally.
So yeah, we are glad to see Elizabeth and Lucas, be able to move on, with whatever destiny lies, ahead for them. So uh what do you visualize, what do you imagine lies in his character's future?
It's tricky for me to tell you what I imagine because I've already started reading scripts. So I have a sense of
You could just share that too.
We'll just pretend.
we'll just keep this between us and
We won't
everyone.
tell anyone. What are you talking about?
Yeah. But what I can say is, like, Chris is a fantastic actor who we are very lucky to have, and he can clearly carry all kinds of stories and tones. And so if you enjoyed his story and his work in season 11, like, rest assured he's going to have some great stuff in season 12 too. Yeah, we're very lucky to have him. And I speak from experience because I've worked with him a lot. He's great. So more to come.
Yay, looking forward to that. So we were speaking about Pascale, earlier.
Heard of her?
And yes, love her. And so we always enjoy, that Lucy and Ethel, interactions between Elizabeth and Rosemary. And the scene where, the beating of the rugs, that stands out. Elizabeth's haircut, So as you reflect on your work with Pascale this season, what comes to mind?
Oh, a lot of laughter comes to mind. I mean, Pascale and I, we really love working together. I guess I should speak for myself. I think she loves working with me. We just have so much fun, and there's so much trust there that if one of us has an idea for the other, we can always offer that up. And um, we're doing everything we can to make scenes feel like real best friends, which isn't too hard because you know how we do. But I mean, you know how close we are is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But we love the comedy and we love the more tender scenes together where, you know, she can always see my light on and we're there to counsel each other and be there for each other. What was the question?
Oh yeah, like what comes to mind, you know, when you work with Pascale this season, like if something comes to mind that was, you know,
I
special.
guess
Yeah.
that comes to mind. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
I can't remember. I mean, the rug beating was one of Pascal's favorite scenes for sure. I think you can tell in the way that she's going to town on that rug. Yeah, we just have a great time.
I love that the finale starts with cut to morning after she's spilling all the beans to Pascale to Rosie about the kiss.
Oh my gosh. And Pascal's face when Elizabeth opens the door wider and she's cheesing.
And Nathan is not even surprised. He's like, of course she told her already.
Of course.
There was definitely a new level of, well, for one, we never like those seasons when you two are butting heads. But this season, it was very much like a new level of support between them, a new level of like knowing each other, like the scene where you both say the same thing at the same time. The reactions are seamless. Like, you know, like I love watching you during those scenes to just get Elizabeth, you know how Elizabeth's going to react now. There's just it's just seamless now to see the two of you on screen. Really special.
Honestly, working opposite Pascale, you almost don't have to bring too much to the scene because she brings so much that you just have to respond to like what she's doing. I mean, but be careful because she gestures wildly, and so you might end up getting smacked in the face. Yeah. Yeah,
So we're gonna dive into some questions from the Hearties, and I've got a couple, and I'm so sorry if I butcher their names. I'll try.
okay.
But this one's easy. Minnie Beth from Plain City, Ohio says that historically, we know you've had a hand in suggesting some throwback costume choices for pivotal moments for Elizabeth. Was it your doing to have Elizabeth wear the same blouse for episode 11's Epic Confession of Love that you wore at the end of season 8 when Nathan declared his love to you?
Which I feel like we totally all know the answer to this, but go for it, Erin.
These Hearties miss nothing.
Not at all.
Yes.
Wait, these are our shocked faces.
You gotta work on that acting. Yeah, I mean, listen, Barbara is so collaborative and is the greatest. We're so lucky to have her. Every now and again, I'll throw a challenge her way by saying, "Oh, wouldn't it be great if we could wear this lace blouse from 3 years ago that has like holes in it now from when I had to quickly get on the horse?" And she's like, "You want me to resurrect that blouse? Like, I don't know if we can save it at this point." But then I'll say, "Please, I think it's meaningful," and she finds a way to make it work so beautifully. Yeah. I'm tickled that that's something that was noticed.
Oh, it definitely was. And then Elizabeth's monologue at the end, as she expressed her love to Nathan, we've said it already, it was perfection. And you played it beautifully, and we saw every emotion on your face. But Shiani of Newport News, Virginia, wonders if you had a favorite line or one that was the most meaningful to you in that whole monologue.
Elizabeth covered a lot in that moment. She talked to, yeah.
She did.
Maybe you all can recite it for me so I can remember what I actually said. There was
one of the most, I think, lines that people like loved a lot was like, "You are home to me."
like home to me.
You're like home to me, yeah.
That might be it. I mean, I think the most meaningful or overt declaration of feelings was "I'm in love with you." And so maybe that is on its own just the most meaningful part of the monologue, but I think You Feel Like Home to me really kind of describes or sums up the relationship between Elizabeth and Nathan. There's just been a comfort between them for such a long time. And I think they've both felt an ease about talking about some of the harder topics together and leaning on one another. And especially after all they went through in season 11, it's just they'd reached a real level of peace and comfort together. And that sounds, You Feel Like Home to me is maybe another way of saying I love you, right? Um, so yeah, I guess thanks, Chelsea. We'll go with that one.
Well, and speaking of that comfort level in the finale, the scene at the row house, which I think both you and Kevin talked about how it was sort of took you by surprise. It had this great level of like flirty banter and then all of a sudden transitioned into a more really in-depth conversation, but there wasn't they both laughed about it, but it wasn't awkward. Where in the past there's been some awkwardness. So it's so nice to finally see this comfort level between the two of them. But in that conversation, you know, you got into some deep things about Elizabeth feeling about having another Mountie in town and him talking about why he was going to leave at one point. So Gloria Wallman of Sturgis, Michigan. Hey, Michigan. How did
Where
Elizabeth?
is Sturgis?
What?
Where is
Oh
Sturgis?
my gosh, I'm going to lose my Michigan card. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, it's somewhere on the hand.
Yeah. How did Elizabeth finally come to terms with committing to a relationship with another Mountie after losing Jack, which has really been
been
season 6 on journey. So I'm not sure that's a lot too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there was the journey of making her peace, finding the courage to be with another Mountie again. But there's also like, uniform aside, there's also this element of um taking the leap of being with someone who feels like a great love, like the lifelong love, hopefully. And um that on its own, I think was a hurdle that Elizabeth had to get over because of her fears of losing another love like that. So obviously, I mean, life experience, she was no longer a single mom with a baby. She's on her own 2 feet a lot more at this point in her story. She's done a lot of reflection, analysis with her therapist, Rosemary. But she's learned a lot about herself, and I think she's become much more honest with herself about how she feels deep down.
Mhm.
So also, I think having the experience of seeing Nathan, um, was that in season 10? When Nathan was in danger, and was that in season 10? I'm getting confused.
That
And
was, yeah, 10, not 11, I don't think. Or was it 11?
Shane Gowan are in stables
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, that
That's
was 10.
10, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think seeing that
Mhm.
she could go through an experience like that of worrying about a friend and but finding that she was okay. It was a manageable amount of fear and emotion.
Hmm.
So all of those things wrapped up in one. I know that wasn't a very well-worded answer, but I think it's just a lot. It's a lot.
Well, it'll be interesting to see as they move forward, um, how if her reactions to those big scary, because Kevin's been open that he still wants lots of Mountie action. So it will be interesting to sort of see if Elizabeth's reactions evolve, right? Going forward. Like, does she still have such a freak out kind of moment or an anxious moment, or does she start to become more of that um the rock for him going forward? I think will be interesting to see moving forward.
So does Elizabeth become Dwayne The Rock Johnson? Is that what you're asking?
Not quite. But does she
I
is
think I'm
she
overtired.
but that moment with Jeanette, right? That was an example of her being so calm in a moment where someone was coming at her. So like,
Yeah.
is she going to become more of that kind of reaction, be able to handle those scary Mountie moments that we all experience going forward? Yeah, be
We will
interesting.
have to tune in to
We will,
to see.
for sure. Um, so we got to talk about we get to the end of the episode. So Elizabeth and Nathan are finally in a great place. We saw lots of kissing around town, happiness around town, lots of great comfort, good talks. Despite all of the interruptions that they've had the entire season that made Hearties scream at their screens. But then we get the mother of all interruptions of our friend Hargraves,
The father of all interruptions.
everyone's favorite Mountie. And I think the words were, "It's about your late husband." So Hearties are wondering how nervous should they be? That was quite the bomb he dropped.
Well, I mean, I don't want all of our Hearties in an acute state of anxiety for many months. So I'm not going to tell them to be nervous, but I mean, it's a cliffhanger. It's meant to leave you on the edge of your seat a bit, and hopefully it brings you back at the beginning of season 12 to see how we address it. I can tell you we do address it. I mean, we come back and we find out more information about what that's about. And yeah, that leads us right into our first episode of the season. So
Yeah.
I don't know how to answer that question.
No, I
I'm
mean
sorry about the cliffhanger. It's a
that's
doozy, you know.
it's a doozy. And we know why the writers do them, to torture us and get us back. But we will show up, of course, because that's what
Yeah.
Hearties do. And then the other big question, which I think on your press a couple weeks ago, you probably were asked about 872 times. And Hearties on our post, it was probably about half the Hearties asked
Oh,
is,
this is a big question. What is it?
can you guess what the most commonly asked question is about season 12 and Nathan and Elizabeth?
Um,
Come on.
um, is it something like, are they gonna get married or are they gonna get engaged or
Nailed
something?
it. Nailed it. Yeah. So if we're in Vegas, what are our odds
Elizabeth and
of
Nathan
it?
in Vegas? Oh, what are the odds? Okay, I thought we were going to Little Chapel of Love or something.
I mean, that's also an option. We could go with that.
I am derailing your interview. I'm sorry. I I I cannot confirm or deny. Um, well, the season hasn't been fully written yet, so I really can't tell you for sure. But I can say that these are two people who have been in the friend zone for a long time and are only just starting to explore their romance together and find out what it means to be a couple. So we will continue to lean into that and see what that looks like for them. And hopefully it's fun dates and maybe more dancing and I don't know, maybe more stolen moments when the kids aren't looking. And that's what I can offer for right now.
Yeah, well, listen, the finale gave us some of those that were super adorable moments and lots of stolen kisses. So I'm sure Hardy's would be, they could tolerate that for a bit, I'm sure. More of that. We'll hang in there.
Okay, great.
Uh, well, thanks so much, Erin. We always love having you. Thanks for taking time after the craziness of the end of the season and your whirlwind tour. We really appreciate it. And we were blown away by your performance, and we can't just wait to see what Elizabeth has in store for us in 12. So thanks for taking time.
Thank you so much. It's always great chatting with you. I had such a great time. More soon, I hope.
Yeah. And Hearties, we loved watching season 11 with you. Can you believe it's over? We're all still breaking out the tissues that it's over. Yeah. But the good news is we've got season 12 coming, and we also have more chats coming on Heart to Hearties. So make sure you subscribe and get notified. And we will see you back for season 12. We're so excited. And thanks for watching all season long. Bye, Hearties.
Comment, subscribe.